Welcome to the Moon Tribe podcast. I'm Simona your host. I'm here to inspire heart-led entrepreneurs and conscious leaders to follow their purpose and create a life of freedom, wealth, and magic. Welcome back, tribe. I'm so excited to dive deeper today as we are going to explore how we can use lunar wisdom in our business. And the 3 next episodes are gonna explore much more how you can follow the lunar cycle and also how you can manifest with the moon. So today we're gonna explore the 3 reasons to follow the lunar cycle. Why would you follow the lunar cycle? What are the benefits of tuning into the moon cycle? And how can we actually apply it practically in our daily life and in our business? As I mentioned last time, I'm a Capricorn, so I like to apply it also in our daily life. I want to start with saying that if you're new to this, if you're new to working with the moon, I often notice that people feel a little bit insecure if they can actually connect to this. And what I want to remind you of is that you already know this. The moon is something we can all connect to as humans, right? It's up there in the sky. You have seen it so many times. You have probably felt it so many times and you were not aware about it. So for me, this entire journey is more a remembering. We are already part of nature, so we just need to remember all of this beautiful wisdom. So let's look at the 3 reasons how this can benefit you. For me, the first one is about recognizing the natural fluctuations of energy. For me, this has been such a huge journey in these last years of understanding that often, especially in the Western culture, we think about time as something that is linear, going from the past to the present to the future. But actually, if we look at nature, everything moves in cycles. Time moves in cycles. And the cycle is not so much as kind of looping on the same spot, but you can imagine it more like a helix spiraling up. So we complete one cycle and we continue the next one and we continue the next one. And this is how everything in nature evolves. So nature evolves in cycles. Once you realize this, you can observe it everywhere. The beauty is that this same phenomenon is found on the micro level all the way to the macro level in the cosmos. And like a fractal, it's all connected. So starting with a very personal, intimate micro level, which is our own breath. The cycle of our own breath, with the inhale and the exhale. And we're going to do a short practice as well after, just to connect you a little bit to this very simple idea of the cycle. Then, of course, we have the cycle of the day, right? Each day is such a microcycle. We have the morning, the midday, the afternoon, the evening, and the night. And then it starts over again with the morning. We have the cycles of the tides of the ocean, right? There is the low tide and then the rising of the tide and the high tide and then going down again. If you've been surfing or working with the oceans, you know about this. Then is the cycle of the moon, which lasts around 29.5 days. That's why it's called month, which many of us don't even connect. So the month is called after the lunar cycle. It's roughly 1 month. That's the time it takes from the new moon to the crescent, full moon, waning moon, and then back into the darkness, starting again with the new moon. As women, we also have our moon cycle, which is called after the moon. And actually, often women were also synchronizing their period and their cycle with the new moon or with the full moon. So pay attention, this might be happening for you as well. On the solar level, the solar cycle, we experience the 4 seasons, especially if you're living a little bit further away from the tropics. We experience the spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring again, right? So this is a little bit of a slower cycle that takes 1 year. So we created 1 year to measure the time it takes for the Earth to rotate around the sun. And then if we look into the realms of astrology, there are, of course, the planets, and some of them have much slower cycles. For example, I think Pluto has 240 years cycle. So some of us will never even experience a Pluto transit in our lifetime. So that is the beauty of really understanding this nature of cycles. The cycle is defined in 4 stages. We have a beginning, then we have a period of growth, of growing, reaching a peak, and then from the peak again, the waning, the dissolving back into emptiness. And then it starts all over again. So let's take a short moment and just experience this with your breath. I feel that is such a beautiful and powerful way. I always share this with my students, and I feel it gives you this direct experience of the nature of the cycle. So if it's safe for you, if you are in a place where you are, where you can take a moment for yourself and close your eyes, then you can do that now with me, or maybe come back later to this episode. Just take a moment to sit quietly. Maybe close your eyes if you like. And just take a deep breath in, all the way into the belly. And a slow exhale, all the air out. Keep exhaling, keep exhaling. Good. Relax your body. Now let's take a deep inhale together, filling up the chest, filling up the belly. Breathe in a little bit more air. Pause. And then a slow exhale, releasing all the air. Keep exhaling. Keep emptying your belly. Pause on empty. This is the moment of the new moon, this new beginning. And now inhale, this period of growth, of waxing, crescent moon. Fill up, drink in a little bit more air. Now hold on the top. Feel this fullness, the peak of the cycle, the full moon. And then slow exhale, slowly release the air out, relax the body, releasing, emptying. This time of dissolving, emptying back into nothing, into darkness. Stay on empty for a moment. This moment of the new moon, the emptiness. And then continue with a slow breath. Just noticing the feeling of experiencing this quality of the cycle in your body. Then keep breathing slow and deep. As you slowly bring your awareness back, you can wriggle your fingers, wriggle your toes, and slowly blink your eyes open again, coming back into the space. This very short breathing practice is just for you to experience directly in your body this quality of cycle. And when we inhale, there comes a point when we reach the peak. We can't keep inhaling forever, right? It has to pause at the top. And then there needs to be a period of releasing, of letting go, of emptying. And only then we can inhale again. So that is the beauty of these yin and yang qualities in the cycle. So these 4 stages are represented in so many ways. Once you understand it, you can really start to notice it everywhere. But I want to bring to your attention, for example, very powerful, if you experienced in the shamanic traditions, they work with the 4 directions, right? And invoking the 4 directions. And there we have a very clear image of these 4 stages. We have the direction of east. East is connected with the spring. It's the new beginning. It's like the children. It has a playfulness, a joyfulness. East is where the sun is rising. So it's the beginning of the day. It's the morning, right? Then going into south. South is this moment of the peak, of the fullness. So that is connected to summer, to midday, the midsummer, right? The full moon. Could be an adult in the peak of our life. Then we go to the west. And the spirits of the west are connected to the ancestors, to the wisdom. It's like the afternoon. There's a maturity. There's a sense of ripening. It's the autumn. And then going further into the north, right? And the north is this moment of transcending when we complete the cycle. It's connected to winter, the winter solstice, the midnight, and the new moon. It's the ending and the new beginning. So just let this sink in. As I feel intuitively, we can really understand the symbolism and the quality of these stages, right? So once you understand this, for me it's very important to realize that during the month, there's a natural rise and a natural fall of energy. The energy isn't always the same. So the moon is also affecting the waters. As you know, we consist to 80% of water. The moon is affecting the oceans. And so the energy of the moon affects us as well. Most animals can feel it. So the more we can become aware about it, the more we can become conscious of this, the more we can flow with this natural fluctuation of energy. What has been in my experience until I started to become more aware about it, there was more this idea that, you need to be kind of the same every day. I think that is a little bit like part in also the working culture nowadays, this idea of, we have to be productive from 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which is like this idea from the industrial age of actually going to a factory, which is really against our natural rhythm. And also nowadays we have the internet, so it's all a little bit questionable if this still actually makes sense. And we are not like robots. We are not always the same Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. right? I think every woman, probably every man knows this. If you just think about the time around the winter solstice, everyone is more tired around this time. So we should naturally rest more and not work the same as during the summer, right? So that just as a little bit of food for thought. For me, and what I love so much about being an entrepreneur is we are actually lucky to have the freedom to adapt our schedule, right? We have the time freedom to choose if I want to work a little bit shorter or longer or another day or move a certain appointment. It's not always possible, but we have definitely more time freedom being our own boss. And as women having our moon cycle, I would say probably most women, if you're having the first days of your period, you probably wouldn't want to plan a big presentation on this day. I think most of us would be probably like, no, 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 try to plan around it, try to avoid it, right? And so just to be clear that this knowledge is very practical, right? We can plan in a way so we can show up at our best, understanding the nature of these cycles. So when I started understanding this, I was able to live so much more in flow instead of kind of swimming upstream, and it's so hard work because you are going against the natural energy. And what happens if we don't listen to this? Because, and I think this is very common in our culture, that many of us push ourselves too hard and we get exhausted. And burnout is very common in our society, which I think is a direct consequence of this lack of awareness. So, for example, I remember back in the days when I was still working in the office in a digital design agency in London. And I was just starting to work with the moon in this time. And I knew we were just on the day before the new moon, which is really a time to slow down and rest. It's a time where we should not be doing so much and just recover and rest. And I was kind of going to the kitchen and getting another coffee, and nothing was helping. I was just tired, exhausted. And then other colleagues started coming, and some of the guys, some were like developers and, computer scientists. So they were not really into the moon, let's say it like this. But they all were feeling the same. Everyone was saying, oh, I'm so tired today. I really can't focus. I need another coffee. What's going on? And then I shared with them and I said, actually, we're in the new moon phase. So it's interesting we're all feeling this. And they were open. They were like, yeah, interesting. And it also made me realize like our culture is so about stimulating ourselves and pushing ourselves and make another coffee and go, and you have to work until 6 p.m. And it's really against our natural rhythm. So going back to why following the moon is so helpful is because it's helping us to listen to our body again and work with our body and work with the natural energy. So this is a big part of what I'm passionate about. So the first reason, again, is recognizing these natural fluctuations of energy. And then the second reason is to understand the importance of timing. That's a big one that I work with a lot as well. So for me, following the moon has to do with understanding the importance of right timing. And you can use the moon as a cosmic timer in a way. So like, for example, if you want to start an important project, you probably won't start it at midnight unless you're really like a night worker or a night owl. So You want to find the right time to start a big project. So working with the new moon would be, for example, you do it after the new moon. That's the time for new beginnings, for starting something new. Because the energy is rising. So we can use the moon, we can use this understanding to work more consciously with the energy. And also, of course, astrology is very helpful to understand auspicious energies and the right constellations that are actually helping us. Like the current is helping you, is carrying you, so you don't have to swim against it. Of course, ancient cultures were very much aware of this. Most of them have also today a lunar solar calendar. So they don't only have the solar calendar. For example, if you've been in Bali or in India, most important rituals are actually performed with the new moon or with the full moon, right? Also the Chinese New Year, it begins with the new moon in February, which makes sense because the new moon is the beginning of the new cycle. And also everyone living close to nature just naturally was aware of this for hundreds, thousands of years. People working with the land, farmers, people who were navigating the oceans were very much aware of the night skies. And there are certain times to plant seeds, to harvest the crops, to cut your hair, right? And I think people knew this. And maybe in these last generations, a lot of this knowledge, we kind of lost touch with it. But also we can just reconnect with it, which is the invitation here. And of course, also royals and leaders have always consulted astrologers and spiritual guides to make important decisions. And that's for a reason. So I realized that nowadays astrology has been very much reduced, kind of just as an entertainment in some columns in the magazine. But actually it's so powerful and there's so much more to it. So it's recovering this knowledge that gives us a lot of power. So when we reconnect to this wisdom, it can help us make important decisions in your business and in your life. I've been now working with the moon and astrology for several years, and I'm using it very intuitively in planning my life, booking trips. Sometimes I naturally just book them right after the new moon. It just happened. Organizing gatherings, and in my business, planning events, launches. And of course, I really use the astrological birth chart with my coaching clients to help them understand their strengths in a much deeper way. And I love teaching about working with the moon and sharing astrology updates each week in my community in Moon Tribe Circle. So these, I would say, are the big reasons. Let me recap: recognizing the natural fluctuations of energy, the importance of right timing. And the third one is really the conclusion of it is about living more consciously. So understanding that we can be in flow with these natural cycles because we are not separate from nature. So the more we can remember and reconnect with the natural rhythm, life just gets easier. And for me, this is also what living consciously means. It's being more conscious, being more aware. And with this awareness, we can start to harness the cosmic energies. So it's making everything just flow much easier. So these, I would say, are my 3 reasons to following the moon, how you can use it in your life, in your business. Of course, there's much more to talk about this, which we will. But if this resonated with you, you are in the right place. And I'm excited about this journey in the Moon Tribe podcast. I would absolutely love to hear your insights. Just drop me a message on Instagram, what landed for you. And meanwhile, please remember to share your magic. Thank you for listening to the Moon Tribe podcast with me, Simona Shimanovic. I'd love to share my free abundance meditation with you. Go to simonashimanovic.com and join the tribe.